Hello, and welcome to our video on the skeletal system. The human skeletal system consists of all the bones, cartilage, tendons, and ligaments in the body. Altogether, the skeleton makes up about 20% of a person's body weight. An adult skeleton contains 206 bones. Children's skeletons actually contain more bones because some of them, including those of the skull, fuse together as they grow up. There are also some differences in the male and female skeleton. The male skeleton is usually longer and has a high bone mass. The female skeleton, on the other hand, has a broader pelvis to accommodate for pregnancy and childbirth. There are two types of bone tissue, compact and spongy. The names imply that the two types differ in density, or how tightly the tissue is packed together. There are three types of cells that contribute to bone homeostasis. Osteoblasts are bone-forming cell, osteoclasts resorb or break down bone, and osteocytes are mature bone cells. An equilibrium between osteoblasts and osteoclasts maintains bone tissue. Compact bone consists of closely packed osteons or haversian systems. The osteon consists of a central canal called the osteonic haversian canal, which is surrounded by concentric rings, lamella of the matrix. These blood vessels interconnect by way of perforating canals with vessels on the surface of the bone. Spongy or cancellous bone is lighter and less dense than compact bone. Spongy bone consists of plates, trabecula, and bars of bone adjacent to small, irregular cavities that contain red bone marrow. The canaliculi connect to the adjacent cavities instead of a central haversian canal to receive their blood supply. It may appear that the trabecula are arranged in a haphazard manner, but they're organized to provide maximum strength similar to braces that are used to support a building. The trabecula of spongy bone follow the lines of stress and can realign if the direction of stress changes. The terms osteogenesis and ossification are often used synonymously to indicate the process of bone formation. Parts of the skeleton form during the first few weeks after conception. By the end of the 8th week after conception, the skeletal pattern is formed in cartilage and connective tissue membranes, and ossification begins. Bone development continues throughout adulthood. Even after adult stature is attained, bone development continues for repair of fractures and for remodeling to meet changing lifestyles. Osteoblasts, osteocytes, and osteoclasts are the three cell types involved in the development, growth, and remodeling of bones. Osteoblasts are bone-forming cells, osteocytes are mature bone cells, and osteoclasts break down and reabsorb bone. There are two types of ossification. Intramembranous ossification involves the replacement of sheet-like connective tissue membranes with bony tissue. Bones formed in this manner are called intramembranous bones. They include certain flat bones of the skull and some of the irregular bones. The future bones are first formed as connective tissue membranes. Osteoblasts migrate to the membranes and deposit bony matrix around themselves. When the osteoblasts are surrounded by matrix, they're called osteocytes. 1. Development of ossification center. Osteoblasts secrete organic extracellular matrix. 2. Deposition of osteoid tissue by osteoblasts on mesenchymal surfaces. Entrapment of the first osteocytes and formation of the periosteum. 3. Honeycomb of bony trabecula formed by continued mineral deposition, creation of the spongy bone. And 4. Surface bone filled in by bone deposition, converting spongy bone to compact bone. Persistence of spongy bone in the middle layer. Endochondral ossification involves the replacement of hyaline cartilage with bony tissue. Most of the bones of the skeleton are formed in this manner. These bones are called endochondral bones. In this process, the future bones are first formed as hyaline cartilage models. During the 3rd month after conception, the perichondrium that surrounds the hyaline cartilage models becomes infiltrated with blood vessels and osteoblasts and changes into a periosteum. The osteoblasts then form a collar of compact bone around the diaphysis. At the same time, the cartilage in the center of the diaphysis begins to disintegrate. Osteoblasts penetrate the disintegrating cartilage and replace it with spongy bone. This forms a primary ossification center. Ossification continues from this center towards the end of the bones. After spongy bone is formed in the diaphysis, osteoclasts break down the newly formed bone to open up the medullary cavity. 1. The mesenchymal cells differentiate chondrocytes. 2. The cartilage model of the future bony skeleton and the perichondrium form. 3. Capillaries penetrate the cartilage. Perichondrium transforms into periosteum. Periosteal collar develops. 4. Cartilage and chondrocytes continue to grow at the ends of the bone. The secondary ossification center develops. And 5. Ossification of the epiphyse. Cartilage remains at the epiphyseal growth plate, and joint surface as articular cartilage. The cartilage in the region of the epiphyseal plate next to the epiphysis continues to grow by mitosis. The chondrocytes in the region next to the diaphysis age and degenerate. Osteoblasts then move in and ossify the matrix to form bone. This process continues throughout childhood and the adolescent years until the cartilage growth slows and finally stops. When cartilage growth ceases, usually in the early 20s, the epiphyseal plate completely ossifies so that only a thin epiphyseal line remains and the bones can no longer grow in length. Bone growth is under the influence of growth hormone from the anterior pituitary gland and sex hormones from the ovaries and the testes. Even though bones stop growing in length in early adulthood, they can continue to increase in thickness or diameter throughout the life in response to stress from increased muscle activity or to weight. The increase in diameter is called appositional growth. Osteoblasts in the periosteum form compact bone around the external bone surface. At the same time, osteoclasts in the endosteum break down bone on the internal bone surface around the medullary cavity. Long bones. The bones of the body come in various shapes and sizes. The 4 principal types of bones are long, short, flat, and irregular. Bones that are longer than they are wide are called long bones. They consist of a long shaft with 2 bulky ends or extremities. They're primarily compact bone, but may have a large amount of spongy bone at the ends or extremities. Long bones include bones of the thigh, the leg, the arm, and the forearm. Short bones. Short bones are roughly cube-shaped with vertical and horizontal dimensions approximately equal. They consist primarily of spongy bone, which is covered by a thin layer of compact bone. Short bones include the bones of the wrist and the ankle. Flat bones. Flat bones are thin, flattened, and usually curved. Most of the bones of the cranium are flat bones. Irregular bones. Bones that are not in any of the above 3 categories are classified as irregular bones. They're primarily spongy bone that's covered with a thin layer of compact bone. The vertebra and some of the bones in the skull are irregular bones. All bones have surface markings and characteristics that make a specific bone unique. There are holes, depressions, smooth facets, lines, projections, and other markings. These usually represent passageways for vessels and nerves, points of articulation with other bones, or points of attachment for tendons and ligaments. The bones of the human body can be divided into 2 broad groups: the axial skeleton and the appendicular skeleton. The axial skeleton comprises the bones found along the central axis traveling down the center of the body. The appendicular skeleton comprises the bones appended to the central axis. Think appendages. The adult axial skeleton consists of 80 bones. It's made up of the bones that form the vertical axis of the body, such as the bones of the head, neck, chest, and spine. Skull bones. The adult skull comprises 22 bones. These bones can be further classified by location. Cranial bones. The 8 cranial bones form the bulk of your skull. They help to protect your brain. And facial bones. There are 14 facial bones. They're found on the front of the skull and make up the face. Auditory ossicles. The auditory ossicles are 6 small bones found within the inner ear canal in the skull. There are 3 auditory ossicles on each side of the head, known as the malleus, the hammer, the incus, the anvil, and the stapes, the stirrup. They work together to transmit sound waves from the surrounding environment to the structures of the inner ear. Hyoid. The hyoid is a U-shaped bone found at the base of the jaw. It serves as a point of attachment for muscles and ligaments in the neck. Vertebral column. The vertebral column is made up of 26 bones. The first 24 are all vertebra, followed by the sacrum and the coccyx, the tailbone. The 24 vertebra can be further divided into the cervical vertebra, 7 bones found in the head and neck, thoracic vertebra, 12 bones found in the upper back, and the lumbar vertebra, 5 bones found in the lower back. The sacrum and the coccyx are both made up of several fused vertebra. They help support the weight of the body while sitting. They also serve as attachment points for various ligaments. Thoracic cage. The thoracic cage is made up of the sternum, the breastbone, and 12 pairs of ribs. These bones form a protective cage around the organs of the upper torso, including the lungs and the heart. Some of the ribs attach directly to the sternum, while others are linked to the sternum via cartilage. Some have no attachment point and are referred to as floating ribs. There are a total of 126 bones in the appendicular skeleton. It consists of the bones that make up the arms and the legs, as well as the bones that attach them to the axial skeleton. Pectoral girdle. The pectoral girdle is where the arms attach to the axial skeleton. It's made up of the clavicle, the collarbone, and the scapula, the shoulder blade. There are 2 of each of these, 1 for each arm. The upper limbs. Each arm contains 30 bones, known as the humerus. The humerus is the long bone of the upper arm. The radius is one of 2 long bones on the forearm, found on the thumb side. The ulna is the second long bone of the forearm, found on the pinky finger side. The carpals are a group of 8 bones found in the wrist area. The metacarpals are 5 bones found in the middle area of the hand. And the phalanges are 14 bones that make up the fingers. 3 for each of your long fingers and 2 for your thumb. The pelvic girdle. The pelvic girdle, commonly known as the hips, is where the legs attach to the axial skeleton. It's made up of 2 hip bones, 1 for each leg. Each hip bone consists of 3 parts, known as the ilium. The ilium is the top portion of each hip bone. The ischium, a curved bone that makes up the base of each hip bone, and the pubis. The pubis is located in the front part of the hip bone. Lower limbs. Each leg is composed of 30 bones, known as the femur. The femur is the large bone of the upper leg. The tibia, the main bone of the lower leg, forming the shin. The fibula is the second bone in the lower leg, found in the outer leg. The patella is also called the kneecap. The tarsals are the 7 bones that make up the ankle. The metatarsals are the 5 bones that make up the middle area of the foot. And the phalanges are, again, 14 bones that this time comprise the toes. The skeletal system's main function is to provide support for the body. For example, the spinal column provides support for the head and the torso. The legs, on the other hand, support and bear the weight of the upper body while a person stands. But the skeletal system has several additional functions, including the following. Protecting internal organs from injury. For example, the skull protects the brain, while the thoracic cage protects the heart and the lungs. Allowing movement. Muscles attach to bones through tendons. This connection allows the body to move in many different ways. Producing blood cells. The soft bone marrow inside of many bones produces red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Storing minerals and nutrients. Bones can store and release minerals, including calcium and phosphorus, which are important for many bodily functions. Additionally, adipose, fat, tissue that can be used as energy can be found in part of the bone marrow. Thank you for watching our video. Have a great day.